We are looking at breast cancer. See, I promised I'd show you a picture of a breast. Ooh, yummy, yeah. Look at that lobeal carcinoma. So again, we talked about breast cancer is the most prominent form of cancer in women. And it can happen in many different parts of the breast. The reason why it happens in females more than males is, number one, females have more breast tissue. There's more cells that something can go wrong, number one. Number two, women have a chemical that men don't. Does anybody know what that chemical is? Hormone.
What? Hormone?
What hormone do women have that men typically don't or have at very low levels? You said it, ST. Estrogen, yes, good job. Extra credit in my head, ST. Yeah, they have estrogen, and this is a growth factor that actually stimulates the cancer growth. This is what happens in prostate cancer. That in order to treat prostate cancer, what do you think, what is the first thing you usually do with the males? They eliminate their testosterone. Yeah. This doesn't mean they, basically, they don't, I'm trying to think of the scientific term for that. They don't castrate them, okay? What they do is they use chemicals to basically keep men from producing testosterone. Would you rather be a man without testosterone or dead man? That is a choice that a lot of people make, right? And that's a lot of this stuff with breast cancer too, is that there's a lot of hard choices to be made. That I'm sure it was not easy for Angelina Jolie to get her breast removed, considering the fact that, she's a movie star and relies on her looks, right? That was a huge decision, just based on a DNA sequence that she had in her DNA. A lot of this stuff too. Again, same thing with breast cancer, that you can remove, the more you remove of the tissue, usually the better it is, or the better prognosis, right? But the more deformed you are. It's that balance between, what do I potentially want how well do I want my therapy to go versus how much do I want it to affect my body? These are huge, huge choices. All right. Well, let's look at breast cancer. And actually, breast cancer has a little better survival rate than lung cancer. As in lung cancer, like I showed you, there's developmental stages. So in breast cancers, there's essentially 4 stages. 0 stage means just healthy, normal tissue. Stage 1, there's cancer in the breast tissue with a tumor that's less than 1 inch across.
Can you stop the cancer at stage 1?
You can't. And if you recognize the cancer at stage 1, you have a 98% survival rate. That's awesome, right? But here's the deal is you have to find that lump before at stage 1, right? And that's why, I'm sure you had the health lectures where, the women, how to check your breast for lumps, testicular cancer as well, men the same way. The earlier you find a cancer, the better it is for you, always. And the nice thing about breast cancer is usually it's in a place where you can actually feel. Like none of us feel our lungs all the time, do they? No, you can't. That's why lung cancer is so deadly, is that by the time you even know you have lung cancer, you're coughing up blood, you're already at like stage 3, stage 4, and your chances of living another 3 years are infinitesimal. So stage 1, stage 2, so there you still have your kind of a small growth in your breast, less than 2 inches this time. Now the cancer has spread to the lymph nodes. And these are these things in the cancer. They're basically areas that kind of collection areas or ducts in your system. You have lymph nodes all over the place. And that's usually the first place that cancer cells will collect is your lymph nodes. And if you've known somebody that has had cancer, Usually a lot of times what they'll do is they'll remove the lymph nodes from certain areas. Anybody heard of that? No? Yeah, okay. Well, they do. Stage 2, stage 3, the tumor gets larger, the spreading continues. Now, if we recognize this cancer at stage 3, there's a 52% chance of survival. 50-50. Stage 4, the cancer, and here's what happens with cancer is it just doesn't stay where it starts growing. What happens is it almost starts evolving and actually starts to loosen up to where it was attached, and it will travel all over your body. That is what actually kills you. That if it gets into your bloodstream and goes up somewhere in your brain and just starts growing, it's going to basically push your brain. It's going to kill that tissue around that. Lungs. Liver is a very common place for cancer to, like you'll get lung cancer and then you'll end up in the liver. Once the cancer spreads, it's a terrible, terrible thing. So here's what I think is that maybe, and we're going to talk about this when we go into next bio, is maybe it seems like this transition, stage 2 to stage 3, is very important. That the survival rate drops dramatically. Maybe we concentrate on our analysis, seeing what genes change from 2 to 3. Some of the causes of breast cancer, so obviously genetics plays a huge role. So about 20% of them are familial. 5 to 10% of them, so this is basically transfer, there's some genetics in the family. 5 to 10% are directly inherited, and this is the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes that we talked about. And those mutations, as far as heredity go, only explain about 25 to 50% of the genes that go bad or that you can inherit that will tell you if you're going to get breast cancer. And then 70 to 80% of all breast cancers, we don't know why they got it. Maybe it's environment, we don't know. What I do is I'm showing you this is there's a lot we don't know about breast cancer. And now when we actually get into this data, this is real data from people with real tumors who are really dead right now. We're going to look at their data and we can actually find things in this area, this gray area. It's like having a flashlight and going into the dark and seeing things that no one's ever seen before. That's why I like what I do, is that, we've pretty much explored the entire planet, right? The deep depths of the ocean, to the tallest mountain. It's information. That's where the explorers are going to be. When I see something for the first time, I feel like an explorer. Like I'm the first person to ever see this, especially with cancer. And then, so right now we actually have something that we're actually developing into a therapy. I found something. I talked to this doctor. We developed that. Now it potentially might go into clinic and maybe save lives. That's the kind of stuff that I do, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm teaching that you can be able to do. This isn't rocket science. It really isn't. And as we get into it, you'll see how easy it is. So again, my gene was polo-like kinase in lung cancer, but this is what I want you to do is, as we go through this data, start thinking about, some of these genes, figuring out a gene that you can kind of concentrate on, or a pathway, or just something that you can present on in breast cancer that we didn't know about before, something interesting. And here, this is just giving us some of the genes that we already know are important in breast cancer. You will, in our studies, and I've already kind of started playing with the data, I found lots more. And I think I found genes that are more important than this. Remember when we did that last time, P53 came up hot in all those different studies? Here it is right here. So again, this is what we are going to do for the rest of the semester, is I want you to kind of go through these lists, and today we're going to work on next bio for a little bit. But I want you to basically get a list, make yourself a spreadsheet. Start writing down some of these oncogenes, right? Put it in one of the cell, like write down the gene name, and then maybe cut and paste some information about it that relates to breast cancer. A lot of this information that I'm going to go over that you're going to learn, I just Google. You don't need a special science website or anything like that. Just Google whatever gene you're interested in or whatever function and breast cancer, and lots of cool stuff is going to pop up. It's going to help you understand or basically help you create your presentation. All right. Well.